So welcome to 11-minute lessons. This year we're going to go through the Sermon on the Mount, kind of verse by verse. So we start with the Beatitudes. We're actually going to go through the Beatitudes this Lent too each week for our season during Lent. But you think about the Beatitudes, this whole idea of blessed are they eschatological warnings? Are they interest requirements that you have to be this way to get into the kingdom of heaven? Are they indicatives testifying to God's grace, or imperatives demanding obedient action? So the first word of each beatitude is kind of difficult to translate. The Greek word is makaroi. In Homer's Greek, it was used to describe the immortals of Mount Olympus, but it gradually came to be used more commonly in secular ways with the meaning how fortunate is. That's why some translations will kind of say happy are those who, happy are the poor in spirit, happy are the meek. It's even suggested that the original force of the word would be better captured in English by rendering it as congratulations. Congratulations to the meek. Congratulations to those who mourn. Congratulations to the poor in spirit. It's important, though, we remember that Jesus spoke in a Semitic, a Jewish context. His original meaning probably reflects the function of the Hebrew word asherah. You can see it in Psalm 1:1, where it kind of says, again, different translations are blessed or happy are those who are like a tree, who are rooted in God's word, like a tree with roots by streams. Where happiness is less subjective than objective. The happiness derives from a right relationship with God. So blessed are those in this right relationship with God. Congratulations to those who are righteous in that sense. Righteousness being a function of our right relationships. So let's look at the poor in spirit. So Luke's version, his Sermon on the Plain, just said, blessed are the poor. Then there's a woe to the rich. What the Beatitude means to say, of course, is that the poor, despite their present evil circumstances, will joyfully participate in the grand reversal that will occur when God's rule fully arrives. Remember in Luke's gospel, there's the Magnificat that Mary sings, where she's singing, God will tear down their tyrants from their thrones. The rich will be sent away empty. The poor will be filled with good things. Here you go, Tony.
Thank you.
So there's that kind of theme of this grand reversal in Luke a lot. Matthew takes a different direction by adding the in-spirit part. Perhaps he thought the dichotomy between the pious poor and the wicked rich was a gross oversimplification, despite the powerful tradition in Israel contrasting the piety of the poor with those of the rich. The godless arrogance of the wealthy, the wise did not forget, though, that poverty can too breed injustice and disobedience to the commandments. But as Moses warned the Israelites before they entered the promised land, that proud self-reliance is fed by prosperity all too easily prompts forgetfulness of our dependence upon God. Moses kind of big a warning the Israelites, hey, you're going to get into the promised land, things are going to be great, it's going to go well, it's going to be tempting to forget that God delivered all this. You're going to think you got all this on your own, that all the good things come through your own hard work, your own creativity, your own ingenuity. Do not forget that God's at the root of all of these good things. It's important, though, to remember that this doesn't mean, from Luke the poor in spirit, Matthew the poor in spirit, Luke the poor, that the poor are happy with their lot. This is an excuse for those of means not to help the poor. That's been a thing before. People say, well, the poor are blessed, they're happy. It says so in the Bible. Really, they're the lucky ones. We shouldn't help them at all. We often like to find any excuse not to help those who need it. So it's important to remember that. In both Luke and Matthew, it suggests that blessings find their way more easily to those in need and those who will recognize them for what they are, the blessings of God. Often when you're full of so many good things, you don't realize the next good thing that comes your way. It's a drop in the bucket. It's more that the idea that valleys fill first, that the poor often can see this the smallest thing as a good thing because they need it. They're hopeful. They're always looking out for some kind of hopeful thing. So in Matthew's gospel, poor in spirit doesn't refer to those who are poor for religious reasons, the voluntary poor, monks and ascetic lifestyle, nor though to those who are deficient with respect to the Spirit, that they don't have a good spirit, they're not very religious, but rather to those who live with humility, not overreaching, who know they live by God's grace. It's that walk humbly with God. You don't think you're better than you are. You don't think you deserve all of this stuff, that you are the high and mighty. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven, is an assurance granted. The poor in spirit are blessed not only because of their future participation in God's kingdom, but because of their present assurance of that blessedness. There's a hymn like that. In this respect, Jesus' Beatitudes are performative. They not only speak a blessing, but convey it because of the authority peculiar to Jesus. So it's important to remember sometimes that when you get these blessings because you're poor in spirit, whatever, the blessing, the congratulations, the happiness does not negate other difficulties. You can have a blessing at the same time you have a lot of challenging circumstances. And it doesn't make up for it. It doesn't always even the scales. For example, a woman in the first church I served, husband was diagnosed with cancer. And it was a difficult road. Her adult daughter kind of came back to help care for her dad, the wife's husband. And the woman said it was really a blessing that her daughter came back, that she got to kind of know her daughter as an adult in a way she wouldn't have otherwise. That was the blessing she found in the midst of this really difficult circumstance. Now, does that make everything okay with her husband dying of a difficult cancer? All's good now because my daughter came back? No. Is that the reason that her daughter came back? The reason for the blessing was this cancer? Like, hey, we're going to cause this to have this blessing. No. It's that God can work a blessing out of any and every circumstance. It doesn't always balance the scales. It's not the reason for it. The difficult circumstances still exist. The pain still exists. But alongside of it, there's a blessing. My goal is to always look for the blessing in every circumstance. Sometimes it's not very easy. Sometimes it's a small consolation in the midst of difficult things. But I believe God can always work a blessing. And I think when we're poor in spirit, when we realize how much in need we are, we see those blessings more readily. We don't think we have it all together. We don't think we can get through this world on our own. We don't think we know what's best. When you're poor in spirit, you realize that we're in need of grace. We're in need of wisdom. We're in need of guidance. We're in need of help. And when you realize you're in need of those things, you're often more quick to find them. It's like in Harry Potter, and he pulls out the sword of Gryffindor. Like, it's always going to show up to those who need it, who are worthy, who ask. Asking for help. Help is always available to those who ask at Hogwarts. The problem is, when you're not poor in spirit, you often are too proud to ask for help. It happens even at Darius sometimes. People don't want to ask for help, and they actually need it. And it's like we could be there helping you and make this situation you're going through, this challenge, so much easier. The blessings are there for you, but you aren't willing to receive them. That's why blessed are the poor in spirit. They ask for it, they recognize it, they receive it. When you're not poor in spirit, often you realize, I don't think I need that. I've got it all figured out. I'm good. And you miss the blessings. Questions, comments, Halloween scary remarks, saintly remarks. All right, we'll be back next week for the second of the Beatitudes. Thank you very much.